Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. We're back on Devil's Advocate tonight, talking all things Manchester United after what has been a mixed week, I suppose. I think if you were to offer us 4 points in the last two games, you'd probably have taken them, just maybe not in the last in that order. Joining me tonight to talk all things on the Arsenal preview, a little bit about some individual players and things like that. We're joined, of course, by Keane, and we're joined by Jay Motti as well. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Just talking to you off camera, and although midweek was a little bit deflating, I think on the whole, you've got to be sort of pleased with the way things are going.
Yeah, I think if there was any Man United fan that was genuinely disappointed in this first half of the season, I would be stunned, because I exceeded all expectations on the field, off the field. I think Ten Hag's doing an incredible job. Obviously, going to speak a lot about Ten Hag. Speak a little bit on Wednesday's game Wednesday's game as well, against Palace. Keane, how you doing? How you feeling? I know you were at the derby last week. Obviously, you brought a little bit back down to earth on Wednesday night.
Yeah, look, it was the derby was some buzz for me. It was even better because I basically done a full 24 hours because I flew from Dublin at 5 to 11 in the night. Got to Manchester. No one on the channel knows my ordeal with the hotel. I'm not going to get into that. I basically, long story short, I checked into the hotel, got my hotel room key, opened the door, and there was people in my room. So I had to
I guarantee if you told Jay the name of the hotel, you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I ended up getting a suite in the end because of it. But but that was all good. But then look, I woke up for the derby. Yeah, it was some buzz. Didn't get home till 3:15 in the morning. Saturday, obviously flying back home and whatnot. But yeah, it was great results. It was good buzz. And like you said, I think, do you know what? You would have said Wednesday brought us back down to earth, but the fact of the matter is, you're disappointed after a draw away to Palace on the back of a win from City. I think it's a testament to where Eric Ten Hag has us at the minute. He has us believing again, compared to previous seasons where you'd kind of move on from your draw and you'd come to expect it, whereas right now I think Ten Hag has us believing and has us loving the club again.
No, it definitely does. And joined as well by Callum. Callum, how are you getting on?
How you doing, mate? Sorry for being a bit late.
So good. Obviously, just talked a little bit about sort of Wednesday's game, how it to me, it sort of brought us back down to earth. Although I think I was more disappointed when Casemiro got booked than I was when the free kick went in. I think when Casemiro got booked, I was just like, oh, that's genuinely gutting. And then the goal went in, and I don't know, I don't feel like there's a lot you could have done with the free kick. It was just bizarre. What were your sort of thoughts on it, just quickly before?
Do you know what? Brought down to earth, probably not a bad way of saying it, to be fair. But I thought we were good in the first half, not good in the second half. I think it more highlighted the issues that we still have with the squad. I think the squad's still that little bit too thin, which is why I think title talk and title races and title hopes are still a little bit early, maybe a year too early. We've obviously seen Ten Hag probably jumped forward quite a big margin with the form that we're in. The squad's probably 70% of the way there. I still think there's a few additions that are needed, and hopefully that'll happen this summer, especially with new ownership. But you've just got to take it on the chin. After the form that we've been in, I guess it was bound to sort of half come to an end. The Casemiro booking was unfortunate, but I think he felt like he needed to do that foul when Bruno lost the ball. You could see how annoyed he was after it.
Yeah.
But like I say, we weren't good in that second half. We didn't have control at all in the game, and I feel like if we'd have took Casemiro off earlier, the likelihood of us conceding earlier would have increased. So I can see why he kept him on. Look, it just wasn't the best day at the office. It was a good half and then a bad half. It was simple as that. We just couldn't seem to get control in the second half. And unfortunately, the free kick was brilliant. I don't particularly think the free kick, the foul for the free kick was a foul, really. I think it was very soft. But, you can blame VAR and all that. But ultimately, we weren't.
He's still got to put it in for there, though, doesn't he? And that was pretty spectacular to put it in for there in the way he did. Although not celebrating is a bit strange.
Yeah, well, it was very strange. It must be a United fan or something, I guess. But
it must be. I have no idea.
Yeah,
no, I think you're right.
Really unfortunate, but ultimately, it happens. And like I say, I see why Casemiro stayed on, but it's just a bit gutting that he got the yellow card. But look, we've beaten Arsenal before without him. He only played, I think, 10 minutes in the first game. We were already 3-1 up at the time when he came on.
Yeah.
So regardless of what Arsenal fan Twitter say, ignore him because he didn't really play. We were already winning the game without him. So, but yeah, it's not the end of the world.
No, I think you're right about the squad, and obviously it has highlighted at different points of the season some of the weak points. It actually brings us really nicely to what we're going to talk about a little bit before we preview Arsenal, before we preview sort of what Ten Hag's thinking about Alejandro Garnacho. We're obviously all hoping that he's going to stay. There was talk this week that Man United offered him a contract. There was a little bit of a standoff in terms of that he wasn't sure whether to sign it or what have you. He wasn't happy with the terms. Jay, I'm going to come to you with this. Do you think he stays? Do you think it's a case of just he wants a little bit more money? What do you think? Do you think the lure of Spain is going to be there? Because I'm worried that Real Madrid offer him, or Barcelona, or someone just offer him a bumper contract, and he's taken away.
I thought it was my understanding that the talks have been relatively positive. I don't know if that's still the case. I don't know if you say he's looking elsewhere or whatever. I thought that the report I'd read was like that. The club feel confident that sort of the talks are progressing in the right way, and there's not really an issue there. I think it's slightly different this time round because in the past, I think sometimes a club have gone a bit OTT early doors with certain players. Like Januzaj is probably the obvious one, where he had a very good start to his United career. He got offered a big contract. I don't think anyone was complaining when he got offered it. I wasn't. And then it didn't really work out. And I think there's a little bit of caution there. But with Garnacho, you can see what he's about. You can see what a talent he is. Like you were saying there, he's there's lots of clubs who'd have him. He's only 18 years old. You look at what he did against Manchester City when he came on in the derby, which kind of got overlooked with all the nonsense about that perfectly legitimate goal that everyone was moaning about. So I think it's easy to just sort of forget that this is a great talent. You don't want to give him too much too soon. So I think, it makes sense that United are trying to find that balance between giving him a deal that's good enough, that keeps him there, keeps him at the club, and that, rewards his hard work so far, but doesn't sort of make him think he's made it, or it's sort of throwing him into that top earner bracket or anywhere remotely near it. And I think the way the club are looking at it now is probably a lower basic wage and a sort of bigger incentives, like the way you used to do things under Sir Alex. So if you're winning matches, you're scoring goals, you're winning trophies, you're going to earn a lot of money, but your basic wage isn't going to be through the roof. So it kind of makes sense. We know with Garnacho, we saw in pre-season there was I'm not questioning his attitude at all. I think he's a good lad, but in pre-season, he had a couple of incidents there where he was late for meetings and he had to get sort of put on a straight and narrow, and maybe that postponed his running the team a little bit. So I think Ten Hag's got a good handle on how to sort of keep him in check and make sure he's on a straight and narrow and handle it. And this is the same with these contract negotiations. You have to get it right. And I hope the club can, and I think they will. It seems to be relatively positive. So if we can tie him down to a long-term deal, I think that'd be a good move. And it'd be a good move for him. He's playing well. He's got a manager who knows how to get the best out of him. He's scoring goals. He's exciting. It's good to watch. And this is a team that's going somewhere as well. You can argue a few years ago, you might have looked at United and gone, do you know what I mean? Or even last year, what's going on here? But now you look at us and you think there's a real positivity about Manchester United. And for a young player like that, who's been at the club for a few years already, I think it'd be the right move for him.
Yeah, I agree. I really hope he stays. And all the noises from Man United seem to be that they're confident. I think it is just journalists sort of getting something out of nothing, that things have been rejected and what have you. Keane, do you think he stays?
Yeah, I do think he stays. I kind of have a bit of worry that he might leave and then it might end up being another Pogba situation where we're looking at him a couple of years for 100+ million situation. I was kind of getting PTSD from that. But no, I think he'll stay. I think Jay made a brilliant point that he's under a good manager who has a good reputation of building up young players. You see what Ten Hag done at Ajax. With players like Timber, Gravenberch, etc. So, he has a track record of building young players. And look, at the end of the day, Manchester United, there's a brilliant project there. He's potentially going to be at a club that's going to have no Glazers there, which means it's an exciting period. You dare to think under a rebuilding process that Manchester United are going to attract the top players in the world. When that happens, Manchester United are going to be a powerhouse in world football again, whether people want to admit it or not. It's going to happen. It will happen. Yeah. And I think there's no bigger exciting project at the minute in world football at the moment than a Glazer-free Man United. I really do believe that. So when you put that in a nutshell and you consider the coach that he has, and You know, you can sell the club many different ways to Garnacho. You can say like, look, you can be the successor to Ronaldo. You can be this player. You know, you can be our main man for the next decade. You could literally spin it any way. You can sell him the history. You could do whatever. But I do think this is like, if you're talking game time and you're talking like his development, Man United right now is the best place for him.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. He's going to get more game time, as the comments say. He's going to get more game time at us than he is at Real Madrid. Callum, do you think the way he sort of dealt, obviously Jay mentioned that there was maybe a couple of things that Garnacho, he was late, just a bit of inexperience, he was young and things like that. That can happen. Do you think the way that Ten Hag's dealt with players like Ronaldo, obviously Rashford was late as well, and the way he was dealt with, do you think that's probably curried favour with Garnacho, that he's maybe, yeah, that he's just in the right place and he's under the right sort of learning tree, and the fact that it's not, oh, you're picking on me because I'm young, because Rashford was at the top of his game when he was benched against Wolves. Ronaldo was the most important player for Man United last year, and he's out the door. Do you think that sort of thing curried favour with Garnacho and was just like, yeah, I'm in the right place, I can grow here, and not I can learn here as a player and then grow as an individual as well?
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I just look back at the start of the season when he wasn't really in the team. Obviously, there was talks of his attitude not being quite right, and Ten Hag clearly dealt with that right, because he slowly brought him back into the squad. And it seems like Garnacho was understood that whatever he did, it seems like Garnacho's understood that maybe he wasn't in the right mindset and wasn't in the right attitude to actually start being in the squad for Man United. So, the way Ten Hag has dealt with multiple issues in the team, and on the pitch and off the pitch, needs to be applauded. Ultimately, he's showing the squad and to an extent the media that it's kind of his way or you go. And it seems to be something that United have probably missed for the past decade. Really, it seems to be maybe it got a little bit too lethargic. Some players just didn't really care, but it seems like Ten Hag's trying to get the right sort of spirit back into the squad, and the right sort of he's sort of getting the right team spirit and cohesiveness that the team's needed for so long. And he's showing that, like with Rashford was a little bit late to a meeting and he was dropped to the bench. It's showing that even your top players can be benched if you don't follow the rules. And if that's the case, I think Garnacho will understand that. Garnacho will understand that he needs to stay on the straight and narrow and go, look, if I want to make it at Man United or make it as a professional footballer in general, I need to keep my head straight. And Ten Hag's showing him the way of doing that by having the right rules in place and slowly integrating him into the squad and into the starting lineup. Look, we've seen it with young players in the past, like with Elanga over the past couple of years. It's a complete shame for Elanga, really. It's not quite happened for him, but it really upsets me when I see the abuse that he can get sometimes online, when ultimately it probably wasn't his fault. He probably just wasn't ready, but due to a load of different issues like Rangnick, the Glazers, players not coming in, he's probably come into a side when he wasn't ready. With Ten Hag, he's clearly bringing Garnacho in stage by stage to show him, you're not quite ready yet, but I'll give you dribs and drabs and I'll start you every now and then until you can show me that you are mature enough. And hopefully this contract is probably perfect for that, really, because it's, as far as I was aware, the contract was signed. So whatever sources I've got on Twitter are clearly garbage. I was, as far as I was aware, it was signed. So hopefully if he does sign it, it's one of them, innit, where if he wants to earn as much money as possible, he has to play as well as possible, and that should give him the incentive to do so, especially with, everyone wants money, don't they? And I'm sure footballers are no different. So if he wants to earn the top dollar, he needs to play as best as he can do, which most of the players who've been given contracts that they didn't deserve, that probably would have incentivized them to do the same.
Yeah, and like Jay said as well, or alluded to, he's probably in a better situation now than even a year ago if he was in this situation. I imagine if it was this time last year, there would not a chance he'd be signing a new contract, just the way that Man United was going. So the turnaround in a year and the fact that we might actually be able to hopefully hold on to a player like that and just be able to sort of grow him as one of our own would be a really good opportunity for Man United. And he's definitely of that age profile and ability that he can sort of grow with the squad as well. But I think he stays as well, or I hope he stays anyway. Coming on a little bit further to the rest of the squad, obviously, massive game coming up on Sunday against Arsenal. Up until Wednesday night, there was talk that there was going to be massive in the title race. I'm not throwing that word about I don't know if any of you guys are. That is Yeah, are United on a title race, Keane? Are Man United on a title race?
If we win Sunday, we are, but
No.
not right now. If we win Sunday, we absolutely are, though. I said to you, if we get 7 points in 9 games, we're in that title race. Because let's get this straight. If we win Sunday, they still have to play City twice.
Yeah.
They have to play
There's a
Chelsea.
difference between being third and then being in a title race. Like, have we got a genuine chance of winning it?
If we beat them Sunday, yes, we do. If we beat them Sunday, yes, we do. Because, like, if you think about it, they still have to play City twice. We've already played City twice. They have to play Chelsea again, who have about 500 forwards. They have to play Liverpool in Anfield. There still is a chance. And if we get beat Sunday, that's absolutely out of the question. But if we win Sunday, Arsenal are, at the end of the day, they're playing well this season. And, fair play to them. They're playing absolutely fantastic. Though no one could have expected Arteta could have done this well this season. But there's still a long way to go. We're only halfway through the season. And Arsenal have had collapses traditionally in the last 10 years in February, March. So at the end of the day, if we do win Sunday, you can't rule it out. You can't just say we're not in it. We're in it if we win Sunday, because Arsenal are due a collapse this season. Trevor, I'm actually being ultimately positive compared to
he is. He's been the more positive one.
Yeah, I'm actually being the positive one for once. But if we win, there's no reason why we can't be in it, because they're due a slump because they've been so good all season. So I think
that used to be the case, and it's just not. Good teams in the Premier League aren't due slumps. They don't go through slumps. City go 20 games unbeaten. Teams, to win this league now, you need to go 10, 12, 15 games without. They've lost one game, and that was us.
What if Arsenal go deep into Europa League, Greg? Here's the thing, though. If Arsenal, let's say we beat Arsenal on Sunday, they go deep into Europa League. They don't have a deep squad. So, it could open it up. It could open it up. You never know. You can't completely rule it out just yet.
I suppose. Jay, do you want to shatter his dreams? Why are Man United not in a title race?
No, I get what Keane means. Listen, if you were to beat Arsenal, if you just come out of these games and go, you're beating City, you're beating Arsenal, you're level on points with City, although they'd have a game in hand. I think you can argue you're in a title race. Do I think we're going to win the title? No, I think it's too soon. I think there's lots of reasons. For starters, losing those first 2 games just sort of gives you a disadvantage anyway, let alone with the fact you've got a new manager and a new squad and everything else that's going on. So that's a bit of a, you lost more games in those 2 games than Arsenal lost all season. That makes it very difficult for you to say we're going to win the title. And also the fact that, Ten Hag's coming into this season up against managers who've been there for years. Arteta's been there for 5 years, I think. Klopp's been there for years. I know Klopp, Liverpool, and it, but Pep's been there for years. It's difficult to see United winning the title this season, I'll be honest with you. But I get your point. If you're level with a team that's second on points, you can go, and you've just beaten them, and you've just beaten a team that's top for the second time in the season, you can argue, yeah, we're in a hunt. I just don't see us doing it. I just don't. I think, like Callum was saying earlier, next season, 100%. And I think for many of us, well, for myself, can't speak for anyone else, Ten Hag sort of raised the expectations, because I thought it might take him a few seasons to get us challenging. And I think next season, I'll be disappointed if we're not challenging for the title next season. I'll be honest. I will. Because I think we've got good players coming in. We've got a manager who knows what he's doing. Good youngsters like Garnacho coming through as well. And it's all looking good. But I just feel like this season's probably a season too soon. The one thing I will say, though, as well, is I know what you mean about teams more recently have gone on these runs and they don't tend to have these slumps and stuff like that. But it's a little bit weird this season. And I think people are getting a little bit carried away with Arsenal, because we're only through the halfway stage of the season. It feels like it's later because we're in January, towards the end of January, because we've had the World Cup. And it's like, it feels like, oh, you know what, the top, and they've only been beaten once, and da-da-da. And I think there's every chance I can see Arsenal sort of dropping points and having a little bit of a slump, because they've not been here before. They finished, the eighth, and then 5th, was it last season? So it's a bit of a sort of, it's a new experience for all them lot, because these are all players who haven't been involved in a title race before. I don't think they've got anyone who. Other than Zinchenko and Jesus, them two aside, the squad by and large hasn't really been involved. And sometimes when you get to like what Fergie used to call squeaky bum time, that experience can matter. And that's why, unfortunately, I still think City are favourites, because as Keane said, they've got to play them twice. And City have been here before, so I hope I'm wrong, and I hope United do win the title. I just don't see it happening.
No, I just can't see it happening. Or I don't maybe want to force myself to believe because I was convinced we were going to win something under Ollie and we never did. Callum, is top 4 in a trophy the best? Would you be happy with that? Would we walk out at the end of the season if we finish 3rd or 4th and we've won the Europa League or we've won even the League Cup? Is 4th in a trophy good enough?
To be fair, after Brentford handed us a new arsehole when they beat us 4-0, I would have taken that, to be honest. I think because of the recent form, everyone's starting to get giddy with the title race and a title and all that. Keane said then Arsenal haven't got a deep squad. I don't particularly think United do either, really. So I think like I said before, I think it's too early to be speaking about a title. If it gets to April and we're 2, 3, 4 points from the top, delete this video when I'll completely change my tune.
No. I'm re-clip. If this comes to that point there, since you said that, I'm going to put this up, tag a lot of like 21 is coming.
This is what I mean. Ultimately, look, top 4 on the trophy was probably everybody's aim at the very start of the season. Top 4, getting back into the Champions League to, attract the best players, get the finances back up, and a trophy just because it's been so long. I mean, it feels like an absolute age since the night in Stockholm. I was in, I don't know, Jay will know it, but I don't know if you two lads do, but I was in 5th Avenue at that night in a nightclub in Manchester because I was celebrating when I was bloody 21. I was about 5 years too old being in there. So, times have changed and it seems to be a very different time. I think everyone's just so desperate to win our trophy. And the fact that at this point in time, our best chance is a League Cup says everything. We'd be absolutely desperate. And I can already see Gabby Bonlahor, whilst he's trying to blow his nose, go, oh, well, they're celebrating it like they've won the Champions League. Do you know what? I will absolutely go ape shit if we win that because it's been so long since we've won a trophy. But for a fact they'll do it. And I can't wait for it because it's just going to be so perfect just to rub it in the nose, especially when he was moaning the other day about after Vidic put him down in the final in 2010. Quite clearly admitted his agenda against us. I'm sick of seeing that knobhead on my timeline. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, top 4 in a trophy would be great. But ultimately, it'd be great. If we could better it anymore, that'd be even more perfect because the fact that we're even in a mention of a title race is bizarre in itself, especially after the first 2 games. That I think the fact that we're even in that conversation makes those first 2 games and the Crystal Palace game the other night even more frustrating. Those first 2. If we'd have just got 2 draws out of those first 2 games, we'd have been a point behind City now, not 3 points behind City. We'd have been 6 points behind Arsenal, not 8. It's so frustrating. So to me, this season has gone very well. And I think the fact that Ten Hag has done so well, I trust him so much to be able to get the right players in this summer. And Harry Kane will be a great addition. I'm a little bit worried about his age, but I'd be very happy with him as our striker. I just think give him the time, give him the right transfer, give him the new owners. And I really think United could be well on the way to going back to the top. And I just can't wait for it, really.
Yeah, and I hope that happens, to be fair. What Keane's just put up there, Kane is open to joining Man United. To me, it feels like a transfer that's sort of destined to happen. I don't know why. It's just always felt like since Harry Kane broke through that, he'll end up at United. But that might be a bit of arrogance in terms of like, we're Man United. We just get the best.
It'd be good if he did, but I do worry it's like 2-3 years too late. He's got ankles made of lead like lead pencils, so
you'll get you 20 goals. You'll get you 20 league goals.
30. So, we might get 2-3 good years out of him. And for what Tottenham will want, Daniel Levy famously hates dealing with Man United.
He'll only have a year left in his contract, though, will he, come the summer?
Yeah.
So it won't be like the money Levy was looking for off City, like 200 million he was looking for, or whatever it was, or 150 it was. I dare to say now, with a year left in the deal, probably 80 to 100 maybe. That's what you're probably looking at ballpark in the summer.
And if we do have new owners, I imagine they'd be willing to spend, and Kane would hopefully be the sort of side that's like, there's a statement.
If I was looking to be a bit of a basic bitch, I'd probably go with Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham would be 2 great. If we were to get them 2, I'd be more than happy.
Yeah, we'd be pretty handy, I think, with those 2. I definitely agree with that. So obviously we're all sort of kind of agreed that Keane a little bit more so is a little bit more optimistic, but most of us can't.
One of us have to, don't they? One of us.
Exactly. We can't quite see ourselves winning the title this year. I do
usually
agree with
the
you.
one on here, Greg. So like it's for a change. I decided New Year I'm going to be the positive one on this show for once.
Fair enough. Now, another thing that Man United are obviously going to have to deal with is squad issues. They've got a massive one coming up on Sunday. We touched on it earlier on. Casemiro is not available. He's been suspended, accumulated yellow cards. Silly rule, should have been thingy years ago. It's just odd that you punish players for just yellow card offences because each game's different and it's got to be taken into context. And I think it's a slightly strange rule. But he's obviously going to miss the game on Sunday against Arsenal. Now, as Callum mentioned earlier on, we did beat them last time. But yeah, Jill, what does Ten Hag do with this midfield? Does he just stock it with as many fit bodies as possible and just hope that Odegaard and Partey can't break it down? Or does he do something radical? Obviously, I've seen people on Twitter talk about Martinez could play defensive midfield, or he might go 5 at the back and then shoot it up, and then you could have sort of Fred in front. What do you think he does? Because it is a proper midfield headache when Casemiro is missing.
Yeah, it is. It's really frustrating, but I sort of share Ten Hag's sentiments. I think it's not like Arsenal are unbeatable with unless we've got Casemiro. We can definitely beat them, and I'd argue that our starting 11 is stronger than our starting 11. Even without Casemiro, I just think like other people say, like Callum said, they've got a bit of a squad, and I think it's United fall short in title talk because of our squad. I think our starting 11 is pretty strong, to be honest with you. Even missing Casemiro. In terms of midfield, what does Ten Hag do? I wouldn't be surprised, and I know this is going to get a lot of groans, if he went back with McFred. I don't even think he's used McFred yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he did something like that. Maybe had both of them playing. I know McTominay played in the game against Arsenal at Old Trafford, did very well. Fred played against City in a derby, did very well. I know they've both got the flaws, but without Casemiro, can you trust one of them on their own as the holding midfielder? Can you ask Christian Eriksen to sit alongside them and do anything other than, like it's nothing but pass the ball? I don't think he gets stuck in. He's not that type of player. Bruno will, but you get that from him anyway. So it's not like you're adding Bruno into that mix. He already does that. So I'm just wondering whether he looks at it and goes, if my gamble is either playing McFred or playing Martinez in a defensive midfield position, he's not played him for about 18 months, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
What's the sort of the lesser gamble here? And I think probably going with McFred, and know people will be like, oh God, really? But I just think that's what I think that's what he'll do. Sorry, I do. I think that you can look at it. I've seen like sort of, people doing, I've done it myself, saying, well, if you put Luke Shaw at centre back and Tyrone Malacia at left back and Lisandro Martinez as DM, and you think, yeah, I get all those arguments. I understand it. Yeah. The issue is, I mentioned this on our watch along when he first got booked, Casemiro, say maybe he does that. Maybe he moves Luke Shaw to centre back and Martinez. And I think it was McCullough pointed out, you know what though? I prefer Luke Shaw at left back against Arsenal, and I agree with that. I thought Malacia had a bit of a difficult time against Bukayo Saka at Old Trafford.
Yeah, he did.
Kind of just about got away with it. And it was one of those where Malacia's sort of one of his best attributes is when you beat him, you better get your ball away quick because he'll get back up and he'll get at you again. And he kept doing that, but there was a couple of times when you were like, wow, this is looking pretty horrific. And it was the first sort of warning sign that you had that Malacia's still got a way to go. So I want to see Luke Shaw left back. And even being honest, I'd probably rather see Martinez at centre back alongside Varane. So I think he'll go McFred. I'm not 100%. He's done changes before. Look at what he did at the derby. No one thought he was going to do that, what he did at the derby, but he did it and it worked. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a trick up his sleeve. But I just feel like we've seen enough from these players underneath Erik Ten Hag for him to be confident they can do a job against Arsenal. Because I understand what you're saying. Thomas Partey and Odegaard in particular are very strong players, very good players. Odegaard's just different class in here, especially. I think the way he plays football is, I hate saying it, but he is pretty impressive and a bit of a joy to watch. But yeah, I think that, if we can match them in midfield physically, we've got players going forward that can cause them all sorts of problems. So I don't think necessarily that, we have to sort of dominate the midfield. I just think we have to just not get over dominated, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair. And obviously Fred did such a good job marking De Bruyne out at the derby. Just literally his job is just stop Kevin De Bruyne playing. So I wonder if that'll be Fred's task against Odegaard maybe on Sunday. Just stop Odegaard playing, stop the ball getting there. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he sort of just replaced replaced Casemiro with McTominay, and then just sort of rolled out the same team as the derby, and just sort of hoped maybe go for the same plan, try to stop, because, and obviously Ten Hag spoke a little bit about stopping Rodri playing. Thomas Partey's obviously been so good for Arsenal this season as well. Could the plan be the same? Just stop letting the ball get into Partey's feet, stop giving him time on the ball, letting him get it out. I think it is strange, and I know Jay, your mate, Stephen Howson, obviously, he's said before that McTominay and Fred as squad players are perfectly fine. Where McTominay and Fred fall down is like when they're playing 35, 40 games a season. That's where you're seeing their flaws every week. So maybe if they've not played together in a while, and they don't get the same number of minutes as they were getting, so maybe we do see McFred and a revitalised McFred. Callum, are you of the same thought process? Do you think it's going to be a McFred combination, or do you think he'll do something wild?
I think he'll probably do what he did in their first game. I think he'll probably go with McTominay and Eriksen. Having Fred on in the second half. Jay's right, Eriksen doesn't get stuck in, but what's baffling me even more is how I'm seeing it quite a lot online. I think that it tends to be a lot of people are going, "Oh my God, I'm so worried now we've not got Casemiro." Well, because Arsenal are so good. Well, one, we didn't really have Casemiro for the first game, and the fact that people are acting like Arsenal are unbeatable. Arsenal weren't even unbeatable when they claimed to go invincible in 2004.
They cheated. They cheated to go invincible.
They lost. I think they lost 5 or 6
games, didn't they?
They lost 6 games across cup competitions and were absolutely dire in some games just to try and claim a draw, and cheated against Man United. They weren't even invincible when they claimed
for a penalty against Portsmouth.
They weren't even invincible when they claimed to go invincible. So at the end of the day, the first game we went with McTominay and Eriksen. I completely agree with what Jay's saying in terms of Malacia. I think there was a little bit of a moment where you were a bit like, oh. So I'd probably prefer Shaw at left back, and then I think the fact that Martinez started the other night, I think that was Ten Hag going, right, you're fit enough now, you're back in the lineup, you and Varane are back together. So I wouldn't be surprised. I probably think the back line would be like Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, and Luke Shaw. I don't think that I'd have any issues with that. I think it's a solid back four, and that back four is a lot better now than last season. So I don't think I wouldn't have any issues with having McFred again, or McTominay and Fred. I wouldn't have any issues with that. I do genuinely think he'll probably go with either Fred and Eriksen or McTominay and Eriksen. It'll be one of those two pairings, because we don't really have any other options other than that. I think Bruno will stick in the 10 and just roam about and do what he usually does. But the fact that people are so, oh my gosh, we haven't got Casemiro, we're definitely going to lose. Mm-hmm. Arsenal have been very good this season. I'll give them the credit, but they've lost one game, and it was against us. So why can't they lose again? Look, I don't particularly, we're going away to the Emirates, so I'm not saying it's going to be any stretch of the imagination that it's going to be the same as Old Trafford. If we were to go there and get a draw and take a point off Arsenal, I think a lot of fans would be very happy with that. But people, I think, need to calm down a little bit, acting like they are the Harlem Globetrotters of football, that they're going to batter us, because they're not, just because we've not got Casemiro. We beat them last season at Old Trafford, if I remember rightly. We didn't have Martinez then, or Anthony, or Casemiro, and we've got. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like people need to stop overreacting so much. I think if we lose on Sunday, we lose on Sunday. We've been in great form, and I think it just highlights the fact that the squad is still that little bit too short. But I also don't think this game is so out of our reach because one player's out. If we lose, it's not going to be because of Casemiro. It's because we weren't good enough on the day, and it's simple as that. So I think it'll be a great game on Sunday, but people need to chill out a little bit in terms of Casemiro's out, we're going to lose, because I genuinely, we won with Fred, with Eriksen and McTominay in those positions, and I think we could easily do it again. It just depends on what Arsenal team turns up and what Man United team turns up.
Yeah, to be fair, I wouldn't be surprised if you went with. Now you've said that, I wouldn't be surprised if you went with McTominay and Eriksen, just because I think if you have McTominay and Fred, it might change the way we play out. Because I don't think I don't back McTominay's ability to be able to pick up the ball from a good enough position from deep and then progress the ball forward.
Well, having Eriksen next to him would be the person that'd do that.
That's what I'm saying. Whereas I've heard obviously strikers in the past.
Away, doesn't he, sometimes? Sorry, Greg.
Yeah. No, it's all good. It's all good. I think it was Troy Deeney was on a podcast once, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Watford, who weren't good, But when they battered Man United, their press trigger was like, oh, when Fred gets the ball, press. And I wouldn't be, because he doesn't do things in one touch. And we know Fred doesn't do things in one touch. So it might, I can also see it now from both sides that, okay, yeah, maybe McTominay and Eriksen's there because Eriksen gives you that option when you're playing out. And he also still gives you that quality on the ball. And he's less pressure resistant than Fred is. And then McTominay gives that combativeness. Obviously, Richard says in the comments there that he does give away stupid free kicks. I know, I'm a Scotland fan as well. I have to watch him give them away at centre-back, which is great fun. When he climbs all over rubbish strikers on the edge of the box. It's hilarious. But, yeah, I don't know. Like I said earlier on, I was more disappointed in the Casemiro booking than the loss. But you're swinging me around it, I think. Keane, is there anything you've got to add? Is there anything?
No, not really. Like, I think, like, look, it's going to be tough either way. Even if we had Casemiro on midfield, it's going to be a tough game because they're an informed side. But yeah, look, we went to PSG with Fred and McTominay and Andreas Pereira in midfield, and we went and beat them.
Pereira played that game.
Yeah, like, look, at the end of the day, like, anything can happen. One-off game of football. I vividly remember we played against Arsenal with most of our second team out. A young man named Marcus Rashford scored 2 and ended their title card then. So, look, at the end of the day, anything can happen. And look, let's just hope, like, look, whatever midfield the Ten Hag does pick, look, I do trust him at the end of the day.
That's fair. It's fair. And I know we've obviously talked loads about Casemiro, but I do think there is other keys to the victory for Man United. Personally, I think our key to victory on Sunday is Wan-Bissaka and stopping Martinelli. Like, how good has Wan-Bissaka been? Imagine you'd turn around to us a month ago and be like, yeah, Dalot's going to come back from the World Cup injured, and then we're actually going to be better in defence. And like,
really glad he's back and done as well as he has, because I there was loads of talk that Ten Hag doesn't like him, but I've always liked Wan-Bissaka. I thought he's been
I love him. I think he's great. I think he got a hard bargain.
I'm really glad he's had a bit of a resurgence, and I hope it does make Ten Hag think twice about him leaving, because I think he's very good as a starting right back.
Yeah,
and very good as a squad player as well. He gives us an option. So I don't think right back is as big as an issue that some people make out, to be honest.
No, I agree, and I think the way that Wan-Bissaka's playing, when Dalot comes back, he's going to have to actually outperform him. It's not just a case of dropping straight in. And I've said on this show before, Keane, I've obviously said to you, Wan-Bissaka got such a raw deal coming from Crystal Palace, being a right back in a team that averaged less than 40% of the ball, to then come in, right, you're now Man United starting right back. Okay, what does that mean? Right, well, so rather than sitting just in front of your own box, you're going to have to sit on the halfway line. All right, okay, we're going to get coached to do that. No, not really. You're obviously going to have to overlap the winger and get back and tackle. And you're going to have to tuck inside to make sure you give enough stability at the midfield to take the ball off them. And he did. And then he was just sort of dropped in and being like, right, go. And I just think for 2 years, he didn't get any coaching. And he tried his best. And he just wasn't good enough because he hadn't been brought up into that position and he hadn't been like worked in. It was just, everyone just thought, oh, well, he's good for Crystal Palace. He's going to be good for Man United. Completely different system, completely different manager. And then he was just sort of left. And I think Dalot's proved what going away and working hard and does for your game, because I don't think anyone gave Dalot a chance when he first went away and loan that he'd come back and be our starting right back. But yeah, that's what I think the key to victory is on Sunday. I think if Wan-Bissaka can keep Martinelli quiet, we have a really good chance. Martinelli's a whippet down that left-hand side. Brent gives a lot of options to Odegaard as well. Like, he'll get the ball into Nketiah. If Nketiah can hold it up, then he will try and run beyond Wan-Bissaka. And I think that is the key. Jay, what about yourself? What other sort of key battle do you look at on the pitch that you're like, that needs to be won for us to win this game? If we don't win that battle, then we can't win 3 points.
I think we're sort of very reliant on Marcus Rashford for our goals. And I think we need him to turn up. I think we suffered because he didn't have a good game against Palace, and it was his first bad game in a long time. And I think, you could see that the team going forward was struggling because, Marcus is such a focal point, not just his goals, but his link-up play has been fantastic. He scares opposition. He drags defenders out wide, turns them inside out. He's just, even in the air, he's been a bit more of a threat in the air, which is something he was never any good at. So this is a game for me where you want to see Marcus turning up. Now, if he plays on the left-hand side, I think it's be against Ben White, won't it? I think he's there right back in it. They've shifted him over to the right. If he's down the middle, he's going to have to deal with Gabriel and Saliba. But I think if Marcus is on it, I think he could destroy Arsenal. I really do. If he's playing like he has been over the last few months, the Palace game aside, then I think he'll cause them all sorts of problems. And I think that could be a key sort of part of this game. I think with Martial, because it looks like we're not certain. It looks doubtful that Martial's going to start because I think, am I right in thinking he hadn't trained yesterday?
Yeah, he didn't train yesterday. Yeah.
So the likelihood of him starting the Arsenal game is probably more likely he doesn't. So if that is the case, I'd expect to see. I don't think Weghorst will start. Personally, I think it's more likely to Marcus down the middle, maybe Anthony on the right, and maybe Garnacho starts on the left. Maybe goes without. There's always the possibility of something a bit different.
80% of the games. I think Weghorst's going to start 80% of games.
You think he'll go with Weghorst against that?
I think he'll start pretty much. Even if Martial's fit, I think Weghorst starts ahead of him just because of the profile of striker that he is.
I was never a massive fan of Marcus down the middle, but I think this season he showed he can do that and he can do it well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got the nod ahead of him because I thought he did okay against Burnley, but you could see Weghorst that is against Burnley. Sorry, against Crystal Palace. No. You could see he's not there yet for the Premier League, and I just wonder whether he's thinking starting him against Arsenal at the Emirates might be a bit of a stretch. There's no doubt he will feature. I think he's brought him in for a reason, but if Marcus plays down the middle and he's on it, it'll cause him problems. If he plays on the left-hand side, he's on it, it'll cause him problems because I think while Arsenal have got some good defenders, I think Marcus Rashford has shown, both historically and more recently, it can cause any defence problems. And it's the same with Garnacho. Garnacho's the one player where even if he doesn't start, he's going to affect the game when he comes on. You saw it against City. He obviously came on, and it annoys me a little bit because, if that's a City player and a youngster who's come through the academy, you never hear the end of it. Like if he came on in the derby and did anything like what Garnacho did. Garnacho comes on and he absolutely, tears the City defence apart, and everyone just wants to talk about Bruno Fernandes's perfectly good goal. And it annoyed me a bit because it's like the kid didn't get the credit he deserved. He was phenomenal. He got the crowd going. He was all over the defenders, didn't know what he was doing, and obviously he sets up Marcus for the winner. So I think if Garnacho's off on the bench, you'll feel like him coming on for the last 30 minutes gives you such a good option. And if he starts, I think he'll be a good option from the start because I think that especially with Marcus and Garnacho, the way they're playing at the minute, I think they can cause Arsenal some real problems. I really do. And I think too many teams sort of have shown too much respect to Arsenal this season. I've watched a few Arsenal games and you think, last season, these were teams that were attacking Arsenal, getting at them, and now they're a bit like, well, we're up against top of the table. Like, yes, you can respect them, but also, look at the players you're up against and think, we can do these today. And I think that Garnacho and Rashford should be feeling like.
No, that's fair. And obviously, we know you've got to jump off, Jay, so I do want to quickly what's your score prediction for Sunday?
I think on my channel on Paddock, I went 2-1 to United, so I'll mix it up so I can clip up whatever one's right and go with. I'll go with 3-1 United. If any of them are right, I'll go with 3-1. I fancy us. I do. I said this after the Palace game, and I think Callum made a good point. You think someone had died when Casemiro got that booking? Yes, he's a great player, but it was like people were almost going, "Well, there's no point going to Emirates now on Sunday." Do you know what I mean? I love Casemiro. He's a phenomenal midfielder, but I rate my team and I rate these players that we've spoken about tonight. And I think that I hate combined 11s with a passion. But I think if you look at the two teams, I think we've got the majority of the best players on that pitch. I really do. I think we have, even without Casemiro. So I fancy us for it. And we've also got a better manager as well. It's just fans.
Yeah, true. And I'm assuming you guys are doing a live stream on Sunday for the game then.
It'll be on the watch along on Sunday. So myself, Joe Smith and Adam McCullough. So do check that out. And sorry I've got to shoot up, but thanks for having me on, guys. Really enjoyed it. Good to see you, Callum. Go and check out Callum's article as well. Just retweeted it. Really good stuff. And I'll speak to you again soon, Keane and Greg as well. Always a good chat.
Thanks, Enjoy. Speak to you in a bit, mate.
See you later.
Perfect. Right. Well, we will go back a little bit just in terms of individual battles because I want a different one from each of you. So I'm not letting you cop out. So, Keane, what's an individual battle that Man United have to win on Sunday?
Jay mentioned Rashford, right? But I think Rashford has roasted Ben White every time he's played against him. We've seen the memes, we've seen everything, and we've seen how he spins them. I think that can be a key battle if he's playing on the left. But actually, do you know what? I think Bukayo Saka against Luke Shaw, if Luke Shaw starts left back. We've seen what Shaw has done to Mahrez. We've seen what Shaw has done to Mohamed Salah. We've seen what he's done to these type of players, these left foot cutting in wingers that are there. So I think Luke Shaw and Saka could be it could be Chase even early like Ronaldo. No, this is arranged. This wasn't Jay.
He's not been punted. It's fine.
Spurs. Yeah, but like, look, I think Luke Shaw against Saka could be an interesting one, providing if Luke Shaw starts left back. I think that could be a key one this weekend, because Shaw at the moment is the best left back in the league right now. I think that's indisputable right now. Zinchenko has been injured. Cancelo has been absolute dirt lately. Robertson's in the shit Liverpool team. You know, Chelsea's left backs are chopping and changing. Spurs can't defend. Who's a better left back? Like, who's a better left back than Luke Shaw right now in the league? I'd challenge anybody to give me one and give me a tangible argument. But yeah, like, look, I think that's going to be a big. What?
Shaw just scares me because you could just so easily have the game where he can't be arsed. Like, he could just decide that he's just, this game I'm not going to run back, and then that game lost.
Who's that for? Shaw.
He'll just go through. He just goes through spells of being like, I'm going to try for a bit now, and then he'll go through spells of getting dispossessed in the final third and walking back. You know, like, good.
I half know what you mean. I feel like you're being a little harsh. I feel like Keane's right. He's probably been the best left back in the league. He's probably been one of the best.
But he goes through spells like this. He did it when Tellez first arrived as well.
Yeah, I know, but I think he has to have already been in that crappy form to perform like that. Like
I think that's
on the Rangnick. I think you know, that's when Shaw's been like that. I'd be very surprised if he was like that on Sunday.
I think if he was, he would genuinely get booted out of the squad. Like, I don't think Ten Hag would stand for that. Whereas I think,
that's what I mean. The walking back kind of thing. I think Ten Hag sort of got rid of that from a few of the players. The sort of lethargic laziness that we were seeing quite a lot under Rangnick. I think Ten Hag has brought some kind of meritocratic process to the first team. He sort of, I knew it's the biggest word I've ever used, I think. He's brought that to the first team squad to kind of go, look, if you work hard in training and if you play well in games, you're going to keep your position. Like we've seen with probably Wan-Bissaka. I believe Dalot's probably fit now, but we're still seeing, or he's very nearly fit. But there doesn't seem to be a case of Dalot's just getting back in the team. It seems to be the case that Wan-Bissaka's shown he can play. So he's going to stay in the first team. So, you know, I do like the fact that he's done that. So I genuinely think finally, because Shaw's really frustrated me in the last few years, and I understand what you're saying, Greg. In current form, I think something like that would be harsh. But we have 100% seen that from him. And in the 9 years he's been here, the fact that he only started playing well was the 2021 season. Was a little bit frustrating for me. Obviously, he had his leg break and stuff, but it was that little bit of frustration for me. But it now seems to be the case that he has actually. Shaw is an incredible left back, and even now he's probably got that potential to go on to be one of the world's best. It's just there was a frustration there. So I get it personally at this moment in time. I think what you're saying is harsh, but
yeah,
you know, 12 months ago it wouldn't have been.
No.
Anyway, getting back to you.
Can you have anything else to add to that?
No.
Like, no. Cal, I'm going to make you pick a different individual battle.
I'll tell you what I'll add to this. Luke Shaw is the best left back in the league, and no one come at me with Cucurella, please. No one come at me with that chat, please. Cocomelon. Yeah, no one come at me with that chat, please. No one come at me with that.
Do you know what? The battle I was going to go was probably what Keane said, but what I will actually say is we know Granit Xhaka's got quite a bit of a short fuse. And we know what Bruno can do in terms of being in the referee's days.
I didn't even think of that, yeah.
But I do wonder if because Bruno can be a handful for the referees, and he can be that sort of moaning wind-up merchant as well, which a lot of people were moaning and getting annoyed about. But I said that's kind of what you want from your leader, from your captain.
Yeah.
And the whole talk about Maguire being captain, I said Bruno should be captain, hands down.
Yeah.
The fact that he is now, because obviously Maguire's not in the starting lineup every week. The fact that Bruno is the captain, he will be that wind up. He'll be the guy constantly in the referee's ear, and I think something like that will really wind up Xhaka.
Yeah,
and I think if he does that really well on Sunday, we could see a card definitely for Xhaka. So I think the Xhaka Bruno battle could be very interesting. Obviously, we know Bruno's talent. We do know he can be a little bit frustrating when he's on the ball sometimes, but the ability he gives you when he's on the ball and off the ball as well is so important to the team. And the fact that you've got someone like that who can be constantly doing the referee's head in as well, I think can be so vital in a team as well. We saw it so much under Fergie. You know, we had the referees in our back pocket because we had the likes of Roy Keane and Paul Scholes and Gary Neville constantly screaming at the referee. And
every decision was just
not to the same extent in the same way, but we've got Bruno kind of whining at the referee all the time, and it's what you need in your team. Arsenal have got that in Xhaka, but we've seen Xhaka's got such a short fuse when it comes to getting sent off. So from a non-footballing perspective, in terms of off the ball, Bruno could really do something and get their so-called leader off the pitch. I think that could be really interesting on Sunday.
Yeah, no, to be fair, I never thought about that. And you are right in what you're saying in terms of like this combativeness and a little bit more bite to the squad. Like I think Man United have made like the 4th most fouls in the Premier League or something this season.
That's what I mean. It's
second team. Yeah, just want to fight, win the ball back. And that, you're right, that started from Bruno, and Bruno showed that last season, even when Maguire was captain. And I think that's why a lot of people, including yourself, wanted Bruno as the captain, because he's, okay, if you're getting beat, but Bruno's not going to throw his hands in the, he might throw his hands in the air when he's getting beat, but he's not going to stop running for the ball. He's not going to, he'd kick someone if they're running by him and things like that. Perfect. So we're going to move on a little bit in terms of, I do sort of merit Jay's sentiment saying about combined 11s. I'm not the biggest fan of them when the teams don't really match up. Like when they did it for the last 3 years between Man United and Liverpool winning everything in the league, and then Man United were sick. And it was like, oh, isn't it funny that there's 9 Liverpool players in a combined 11? Like, not really. Of course it is. Like they're top of the league and we're 6th. But I think there is a bit of debate in this one in certain positions. So yeah, Keane, I'll get you to quickly run through what would be your combined 11, based on fitness as well. So
based on
if they're
fitness,
injured, they can't play.
Ramsdale's been quite good this season. So is De Gea. Both of them have actually been quite good. I go De Gea though. I just about on his shot stopping ability.
Mm-hmm.
Right back fitness, Ben White right now. And Wan-Bissaka is very good, and I know I might have just contradicted myself. The fact that I said Rashford roasts Ben White, but Rashford is one of the best in the league. So Ben White with two centre backs on form and fitness right now would be Saliba and Varane. Look, I think Martinez has barely played since the World Cup. I think Saliba's been like top all season in the league. He's been top. Now, to be fair, Varane did have that little spell out of the team, but Varane, I think for me, has just been really good this season.
It's really tough, that one, isn't it? It's
one of them out for Varane.
I think is really tough, to be fair. I don't think anyone could argue with either, but you could see why Saliba's got in there, I think.
Yeah. Luke Shaw, as Trevor said, could get in any position. He's playing so well. He probably could throw him a goal. He'd do a job, to be fair. But to be fair, I'm going to go Luke Shaw left back. That speaks for itself. There's no competition. Casemiro over Partey every day, twice on Sundays. Casemiro defensive midfield. Odegaard and Bruno. Odegaard and Bruno, my midfielders. I was going to go Eriksen, but Bruno's going to get in ahead of Eriksen for me. So Odegaard and Bruno in midfield. Saka right wing. We don't even have this is weird. Saka right wing, Rashford up front, Martinelli on the left.
That's fair. Do you agree with that, Callum?
Oh, do you know what? I'd probably go. I'd change that. I'd change the right back and probably put Wan-Bissaka in. I'm not a big fan of Ben White, to be honest.
Fair.
He's been good this season, but I still think I think on form this weekend, whoever plays left wing, whether it's Garnacho or Rashford, I think they'll have the better of him. So I'll put Wan-Bissaka right back, and then I'll be United bias, and I'll go. Do you know what? No, I won't. I'll stick with Saliba. I'd change the right back, and I'd probably go with that. And there's an argument for Ramsdale instead of De Gea. I love De Gea. His passing, absolutely. Honestly, it makes me really upset sometimes. So I'll tell you what, to be devil's advocate and to see what the reaction can be, I'll play devil's advocate and go with Ramsdale instead of De Gea.
Yeah, so you do one Arsenal for one Man United, in fairness. So rather than De Gea and White,
just
you've got
it up slightly. I still think De Gea is great, but I'll be a little bit different just to make it more interesting for everyone.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. What do you think De Gea's future sort of holds? Do you think he stays?
I think he stays, but he's going to have to take a very big pay cut. I think if we were saying before about I don't think the right backs positions as needed as some people think. I actually think we are a younger midfielder away, a top striker away, and a new goalkeeper away. Personally, I think if we were to sign those three this summer and a new ownership with a better, a refurbed, updated training ground, and those three signings, so Harry Kane, Jude Bellingham, and a goalkeeper.
Yeah,
whatever goalkeeper it is.
Give me Gavin Bazunu, please. Just give me Gavin Bazunu on goal. He's a fucking monster. He's a monster.
Give me those three and a nicer training ground for the team.
Yeah.
And new ownership. And this summer would be amazing.
So,
and then obviously the stadium as well, but that'd be a much longer process. But
that'll be a few years in it. So you think De Gea stays on high wages as a goalkeeper? I think he stays as like the second choice on massive wages.
I think at this point, I think with the issues with the Spanish squad, I don't think anyone in Spain would take him. And because of that, I think he's very happy I think he loves Manchester. I think he loves Man United. I think he loves the fans. Mm-hmm. He's also a Premier League winner. I think he'd be happy to step in when needed. I think he'd probably come in and be our cup goalkeeper and play the odd Champions League game. And I think he'd be happy with that. And he'd still earn a fair whack as well. Oh, yeah. So I think if he was to be happy with that and keep him as second keeper, or if this is...
You know what you do with David De Gea? I know we're kind of sidetracking into De Gea and before we do our score predictions, but what I will say is you get, like, if you're keeping De Gea on reduced wages, sure, just get rid of Dean Henderson. He's already on 200 grand a week, and then just put De Gea on that 200 grand a week, and then you get your new keeper. Problem solved.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted the other day, sorry about getting a sidetrack, but just very quickly, I think Hugo Lloris has been awful for Spurs past few weeks. I think he's definitely coming to the end. Mm-hmm. Dean Henderson is very good with his feet. He commands the area. He's a good shot stopper. I think he'd be perfect for Tottenham. And if United were to go for Harry Kane, I really think an astute recruiter would probably put Dean Henderson in some kind of deal for Harry Kane. I think if you were to go to Spurs, look, he's got a year left on his contract. We'll give you 50 million and Dean Henderson, because I think Dean Henderson is easily worth 40 million quid. That's a £90 million deal there. Kane comes to United for 3 years, hopefully goes and wins a few trophies. I don't see that as a bad deal personally for Spurs. I think they've sorted the goalkeeper issue out and they've made a little bit of money as well. United get the striker that they so obviously need.
Yeah.
Spent that little bit less money, which means we can go spend more in the midfield. Mm-hmm. We've also got Henderson's big wage off as well. De Gea's saved on wages as well, which means we can go and sign someone like Bellingham for the midfield as well. I think I would have said Henderson could have been our number one, but unfortunately his interview at the start of the season with with Autosport, I think, has probably ruined that. I think for
that actually was shocking with that interview. Like you just don't do that. I'm the same. I would rather keep De Gea, and even if he chucked in a few more goals, I would rather back De Gea than have Dean Henderson be the option.
I wasn't originally like that, but his interview just hurt me up the wrong way. Do you know what? Maybe it's just this slight vendetta against, because TalkSport in general is actually okay. I just think the fact that they're owned by the Sun and that they employ certain pundits makes.
Hold on a second. Wait. Hold on. I TalkSport owned by the Sun, really?
I don't think they're owned by the Sun, but they're owned by a company that is related to the Sun, I believe.
Oh my God, I've been tweeting with the last few weeks that they're the Sun of broadcasting. That really makes sense now.
Yeah, so but that's what I mean. Yeah. I think if that interview would have been done with maybe Sky Sports, maybe my brain would have worked another way. But I think the fact that it was TalkSport and the fact that it just allowed those idiotic pundits to.
What about Piers Morgan?
And then
Piers Morgan, do you think you'd be?
I think it hurt me the wrong way, which made me think, you've upset me a bit too much there. But yeah, De Gea stays on less wages. Go find a new keeper, maybe Mannion from AC Milan, just off the top of my head.
There's so many in there, and keepers aren't that expensive. And I feel like De Gea's earned the chance to just be in the squad to lift the trophy.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
Because he's had to deal with think about the teams he's played in over the last decade at Man United. He played in that last Fergie team, and then since then has played in the worst Man United sides ever. And I just think he deserves the chance to be in the squad when that, hopefully, inevitably, we win that title. But Keane's right, that was a little bit of a sidetrack. I do want to get you guys score predictions just before we finish up. I personally am going. See, now this show in general has made me a bit more positive because Keane will vouch that I said we would lose 2 or 3-0 after Wednesday night. But this show's made me slightly more positive, so I'll go 2-2.
Same score as the Derby prediction.
Yeah, I'll go 2-2. Yeah, and it worked. We won, so I'll definitely go 2-2 in the hopes that we win. Keane, what about you? Give Callum a bit more time.
I said we'd win the Derby. I said we'd win the Derby, and we won it. This is a tougher game because we're away.
Is it? Anyway,
I think because we're away, it is. They've been brilliant at home this season. I'll go.
And they don't better form than City.
Yeah.
I mean, in form, I don't think they're a better team. Anyway, yeah.
No, they are in better form.
Fuck it, I'll go 2-1. I'll go 2-1. I went 2-0 last week, so I'll go as to concede this week.
You did say that here.
And you know what? Just because my great host Greg is beside me here, I'm going to go Marcus Rashford winner. Just to drive
as long as Weghorst gets the first, you can have the Marcus Rashford winner. I'm going for a Weghorst brace. Why not?
Marcus Rashford winner. Marcus Rashford winner, and then at the end of the season, when Marcus Rashford gets into team of the season and United finish top 4 and he fires us, he scores a goal in the League Cup final, me and Greg are going to sit down, and he has no choice in it. We're going to sit down, have a conversation about how he was wrong, about absolutely everything about Rashford. But yeah, it's all respect, Greg. But yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. And if that happens, I probably deserve it. But I felt like at the time I was right to say what I said. Callum, what about you?
I don't know what you said, so I'll just.
I just said he was shit. That's what I said. Just said he was rubbish.
Who, Rashford?
Yeah, because he was for 18 months. He was terrible.
I mean, he definitely was last season. Anyway, I mean, he wasn't great. He was shit, but to be fair, the whole team was. So I kind of I hate it.
Callum,
the whole team was absolutely dire last season.
Rangnick tax, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
the whole team was dire.
Yeah, do you know what? Because I've been so critical of everyone about the Casemiro situation, and because everyone's kind of wrote United off, I'm going to go for a surprise. I think United will win 2-0. I think we'll keep a clean sheet. I really do. I think we'll keep a clean sheet.
I hope you're right. Oh, God, I hope you're right. And Ailey obviously says 2-0 Arsenal. She is an Arsenal fan. That's going to be a fun game to watch together on Sunday. That's my sister, by the way. So, yeah, we had to watch that game together on Sunday, which will be great fun. I'm sure that'll be joyous. But, yeah, you got any prediction for goal scorers, Callum?
Garnacho and Rashford.
Garnacho and Rashford. Like it. Perfect. Well, that's everything for today then. We've obviously covered things to do with Crystal Palace, covered Arsenal, a little bit more about the squad. Keane, is there anything you want to wrap up with? Anything else you need to plug for the channel?
Yeah, so earlier today I did do an interview with Sean Sheen from Severe MMA, and he's a massive Man United fan as well, one of the biggest MMA journalists in Ireland. So you'll have him on. That'll be out tomorrow morning at like 11 a.m. So we talk everything from UFC 283 to Manchester United, and also his take on the links for Harry Kane as well. So do check that out as well. And also as well, do check out Callum's blog as well, United Road, on his Twitter as well, and I'll give it a retweet there as well. So please do give that a share, give it a read as well. Very good work by Callum as well, and so we do appreciate you coming on as well, pal. But yeah, look, we've plenty of content coming up. Match reaction Sunday. Mark will have a panel on there as well. But yeah, look, thanks very much everyone for listening in. It's been a great show, and thanks very much, Greg, for having us.